Call the names. Wake the room. Wake the room. Wake the room! Rex, Pam Ray, Naomi, Afasiana, Babbler, Monarch Soul, Jojo, Gray Eyes, fill my eyes. Poets assemble. No masks, no manners. Say it plain, or say it broken. Monday night in the garden of enlightenment. Low light lit minds, every line got intent. Clock ticks crooked and the room turns vigilant. Quiet so loud you can hear what the tension meant. Then it slips after midnight, manners get murdered. Nice little masks get cracked by a word or a murmur. Twisted Tuesdays twist truth till it turns on its heel. Clean cut faces go strange when the dark gets real. You can feel that shift, that slick little slip when the grin stays sweet, but the eyes don't sit. Like the room grew ribs, like the walls grew ears, like the hush got hands and it's pulling you near. And the words don't rest, they press. Put a heel on the chest, leave a dent in the breath. Every line like a knock from the back of the brain. Like you came in one shape, you won't leave the same. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown in the soft dome dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whispering the ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Say it plain, say it broken. Late night poets, Wednesday breaks, parts in the parts, ink down the spine, half halo, half hazard, both hands in the light. In the yard of seduction walks soft through the smoke, silk on the tongue with the blade in the joke. Books and bards wakes dust in the depth of the shelves. Old ghosts lean out and start naming themselves in a craft and sullen art. The ache gets a voice, pain stands up street and makes silence a choice. Then break on through when the devil gives way, when the masses sink but the pulse says pray. Echoes in the dark, go hunt the fear, that thing when no name starts ringing in your ear. Say it, say it. Fill my eyes with poetry, don't water it down. Let it bite, let it bloom, let it burn through the crowd. Bad company grins like a bruised dress smart, and rhythm and rhyme puts a boot through the heart. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown in the soft dome dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whisper in the ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Say it plain, say it broken. Late night poets, some come shattered, some come slick. Some speak honey with a blade in it. Some sound velvet, some sound wire. Some walk in low and take the room higher. Some come holy, some come liars. That's the thing! This ain't filler for the dead space, no. This is pulse with a pen, this is blood with a nickel. This is breath to the backbone, ink with the crown. Live mics, live nerves, truth laid bare in the round. This is the beautiful mess, the bruise and the bloom. The line that cuts clean and makes a little room. Late souls, wide eyes, all nerve in the dark. A room full of hearts beating hard through the dark. Wake the room, wake the room. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown in the soft dome dim. wanting more. Late night poets, when the clock slips past polite, we tell the truth. LNP, we love you. Stay frosty.
Hello and welcome to Echoes in the Dark. The darkness in each of us needs an opportunity to be heard, understood, and embraced. So whether it comes in the form of a whisper or a scream, we will carry forth the poetry that expresses the haunting echoes within your soul. I am Pam Ray, and co-hosting with me tonight is Robbie's Poetry. Robbie and I are poets on a website called All Poetry with a group of poets called Late Night Poets. This is our dark poetry show, and if you find that this is not your cup of tea, please check out our other shows. We have 1 to 2 shows per night on a variety of styles, of topics, and poetry, something to suit everybody's taste. Also, make sure when you get a chance to check out the poetry anthologies put out by Late Night Poets on Amazon, because when you purchase those, you not only get amazing poetry, you help support these radio shows. And hello, Robbie. How's it going?
Oh, hey Pam, I'm just cracking up, having a good laugh. I wasn't intending it, but I have my little Darth Vader figurine in front of me here, and there's a little crosswind, or his cape is catching the blow of I think my air filter. He's blowing, it's blowing in the wind, and I love it. I love every second of it.
Oh, that's just absolutely perfect.
It
Too
is,
funny. Too
yeah.
funny for sure.
Hmm.
And I see we have Yumpy and Jojo hanging out in StreamYard. So hello to both of them. Good to see y'all. I sent the rain Jojo's way. So, that was my plan all along with my
Yeah,
immortal control of the weather, was
exactly.
to send the rain to Jojo.
We did get
So
some rain here. We did get some rain here, but unfortunately there was thunderstorm with it. So there were some lightning strikes, and they were worried that would start even more fires. So that's the ideal that you want, is to have rain without the lightning. But
exactly.
you can't control it. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. This time of year, especially since you have forest fires in those areas, that
Mhm.
really would be ideal. Yeah, we had the heavy rain and the thunder and lightning. Um, I don't know. I'm actually highly considering after the show going for a short walk,
Mhm.
as long as there isn't rain,
Mhm.
because I don't know, the air quality still isn't great,
Mhm.
but it's not as bad as it has been.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be down to like the high 60s, low 70s by like around the time the show would be over. I am just so freaking restless.
Oh yes, you and me we were talking about that. Both of us are going stir crazy,
Yes.
and in my case, I literally the air quality has been so bad that I
Oh
literally
yeah.
can't go out. Like, if it would be dangerous for me to go out,
Right,
I would have
right.
to go out with an N95 mask.
Yeah,
So, but I've been
yeah,
getting
like,
some help with my brother getting me coffee, and I had some help
oh,
with
that's good.
yeah, I had some help with some groceries too, so that I could get some supplies and that without having to leave my place. So I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. My my thing is not only am I bored, but I want to get to the store, and not because I necessarily need anything. Like, I have food at my house, but you know how it is when you have food in your house, but you either you're just tired of what's,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
the same stuff.
it's not like I'm starving. It's
Mhm.
that I really have a hankering for, like, to make orange chicken,
Mhm.
and just
Mhm.
eh,
And when you get
yeah.
stressed too, you eat more, and so you go through more your supplies more, and it's like a vicious circle. But
It is. It is. Oh my gosh. Oh
I'm
my
just glad
gosh.
I got
Yep.
my coffee. I was saying to my brother that it's not essential in terms of being an essential, but it's an essential for my sanity. Everyone's got their one or two things, that help them, that helps be a mental cushioning when they're stressed. And for me, that's coffee.
Oh,
So if you take that away
absolutely.
from me, it's like, oh my God, watch out, the wrath is coming out.
Oh yeah. No, that's definitely me. I actually order, like when I order coffee, I will order the like 36 to 150 count boxes
Yeah,
of the coffee pods off of Amazon.
right.
And just recently, I ordered 2 big jars of like iced coffee mix. So I
Mm.
make sure to have it on hand. I make sure it gets delivered to the door.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but I am looking forward to hanging out with you
yeah.
and delving into some amazing dark poetry. We're going to get into and delve into and comment on the carryovers from the 7-3 show, which is dark poetry inspired by the artwork of, oh my goodness gracious, I'm totally blanking out here. I got to take a look at this.
Oh,
Leslie Oldacker. Yes,
okay.
anybody who has not seen the artwork of Leslie Oldacker, I highly recommend checking that out. Now, anybody who usually listens to this show and is thinking, well, isn't this usually on a Friday or Thursday night / early Friday morning? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But just for this week, we moved it to this Saturday. And in 2 weeks' time, when we have another Echoes in the Dark, it should be back to its usual time. And Rex, who's gone this week to a family wedding, or at least to a wedding,
Okay.
will be back in a couple of weeks. So thank you, Robbie, for filling in. It is very much appreciated.
Oh, you bet.
Uh,
Just having a flashback to the wedding that I was at most recently, and the tradition of the garter, where they
mhm.
throw it in, and the person that catches it, they're the next person to get married. I'll never forget my one of my friends there, one of my acquaintances. I happened to be the one who caught it, and she said it couldn't have headed more straight for you, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't just jump out of the way.
Oh yeah, yeah, pretty much. It was hilarious because the couple that got married was older, and so there were a lot of older people there. And there's only there weren't many bachelors. There's only like 4 or 5, and we actually
Oh my gosh.
we all had to go closer to the front because otherwise we'd be too spread out. And the MC is laughing. He's like, "Oh, you guys, you got to come up closer. You're just too far spread out." And then when it headed right for me, it's like, "Oh, crap." Oh well,
Yeah.
I'm not the marrying type. But hey, I got a
I've
free garter out of
honestly
it.
never stood with the other wedding people, guests, or I've never actually stood and even tried to catch the bouquet. Like when it was
Yeah.
time to catch the bouquet, I kind of slipped away and hid. So.
Yeah, good idea.
All right. Well, we better get this ball
Yeah.
rolling and get into the poetry. So I've put up All in a Day's Work by Ed Hunter. And go ahead, please, Robbie, and give that a read.
Okay. I'm glad that it's in the old website format right now, because I don't feel like contending with the new format right now. All in a day's work. Oh, look at fascinating painting. I have to check that out after the show. The cities are filled with churches, beggars, and madmen. Businessmen and women walk the streets early morning and late at night. City alleys with addicts, boozers, and crackheads, some carrying guns or knives. Most are stolen. Police and firefighters risk their lives, praying they make it for dinner. Pimps and ladies of the night, waiting for a trick or two. pigeons getting hit by speeding cars, cats chasing rats, and some big rats chasing cats, dogs barking day and night. The smell of urine on a hot summer day burns your sinuses. Loud concerts in bars, screaming with oldies and the latest hits. Buses, subways, and cars motoring through town, packed with humans. The ruthless rhythm is loud, soaked in sweat from the heat, migrating from the sidewalk up to my legs, up my back, and pouring across my brow. The bus is finally here. Wow, end poem. That really hit home for me at the, at the end of
Right?
the.
I could imagine.
Yeah, the bus is finally here after it got canceled. Damn it. Well, I'm gonna have a comment or two for this poem. That's for damn sure.
Right, right. No, I really like this poem and the social commentary that it makes. First of all, there's the juxtaposition that I felt, or the sleight of hand within the title, All in a Day's Work, because usually that's connected with something positive, like say you thank the mailman for delivering the mail and he says all in a day's work, or but this is all in the day's work of the police, the firefighters, the pimps and the whores, the prostitutes. So it's really looking at the ugly side of life in the big city, the hustle and the bustle and the different layers. It is very visceral. I felt like with the bus is finally here. Not only as focused on the idea of what a pain it can be to wait for the bus, but also how this poem to me took people watching to an all new level. This actually, the two towns I've lived in, one was a bigger town than I live in now, but still small. And so it was actually one of those towns where you really could just take the bus for the fun of it. Like I would take my little kids and we'd go on the bus and go to Dairy Queen or something and then go home, and there would very rarely be any problems. And then when I lived in Austin, Texas, which still isn't, I think, as bad, at least not back in the 90s anyways, it wasn't as bad as some of the other cities. It still had its fair share of characters. But yeah, I thought this had really great imagery throughout and was very well done by Ed Hunter. And your thoughts, Robbie?
Well, especially over the past couple of years, how the city has morphed, and that I relate to this more and more because, well, especially I know that my experience with the buses and how like they're not reliable anymore. The bus is finally here. Finally is the emphasized word for me. Uh, and the thing is that our cities become more raw, I guess you could say is the best word for it. And so I'm thinking of the, not the pimps and that, but the a lot of like there's a more vagrancy and things like that. So I think of that, like there was a lot of encampments in that, and sometimes it really affects you. I saw someone who was passed out. It looked like they were passed out, and I was calling 911, and he says, I'm not passed out, and he almost sounded pissed off. And that really got to me, because I felt like saying, well, sorry that I'm concerned for your well-being, right? It's like no good deed goes unpunished. Sometimes people just do want to be left alone. They're in their little world, and their world is not pleasant. But it's the sad reality is they just want to be left alone in it, and so it's a tough balance. You're trying to help people and that, but sometimes some people they just they just want to be left to their own devices. So you're measuring out your compassion with that sort of a reality, right? And but this reminded me also of just generally, not with any moral or aesthetic tone, but just the idea in general of people watching, because I'm a photographer, and when you're a photographer and even if you don't do people like urban photography necessarily, you do notice things more, and you notice little things like people's interactions, I think, and just what goes on in nature in that area. You kind of just have a more of an eye for what goes on uh, around you, and so it's interesting to see the city with that sort of a lens. And actually, the last thing I was going to say is the cities are filled with churches, beggars and madmen. I was just mentioning in a comment on YouTube about a couple of churches that I didn't know they did this till recently, but I saw them, I heard them actually do it, and this is a truly nutty. They compete, like, how like you have like cities will be like, my monument is bigger than your monument. Well, these churches are competing with their bells. My church bell is louder than your church bell, and they literally, no word of a lie, they go back and forth with their church bells, and they're like right across from each other. And it's like you could tell it's not a coincidence. Like, oh, we have, because at noon or at 10 or whatever, the church bell rings, and you can tell that they're ringing back and forth, trying to outring each other. We're louder. We're louder. Our bells are louder. And I think that's just the cutest, funniest thing I've ever heard. I recorded that and sent it to a friend. I'll see if I can find the recording on my phone and send it to you. Maybe I did send it to you. I don't know. But anyways, yeah.
Great comment there, Robbie. And up next, we have Maelstrom Meander by Eric Svensson. Let me get that posted in YouTube. And he was nice enough to supply us with a SoundCloud. And I'll go ahead and, oops, that's not the one I wanted to. All right. And, oh, wait, maybe I already did it. Oh, I must have already done Eric's. Either I'll have to skip it for now, and then I will check for. I will save it for another time, and if I didn't already do it last time, I will do it on break on through. So, all right. So I will go on to the next one, and all right. Up next, we have Subculture of Sheep by Daniel Duhame. I'm going to go ahead and get that put in YouTube and get back to where I need to be. All right, and it goes like this. The crowd moves like soldiers on the march together, all heading the same way as if controlled by a master controller who submits his ideas to a computer. Free thought is but an invisible dream, where the chains of oppression are broken by radical ideas. Everything is compartmentalized into one sector of existence. There is nothing left to chance or fate except the one thing that can't be controlled, death. When eternal sleep comes, it welcomes serenity, leaving behind a world of controlled structure where every day becomes a routine of work, chains of being locked into boredom becomes natural with the excitement of going off grid to find peace, a mere idea of madness. End poem. And Robbie, your thoughts?
Well, I like the idea of compartmentalization. We do that a lot, we compartmentalize everything in our lives, sometimes out of necessity, and sometimes it's like it can be unhealthy. It depends how you compartmentalize, and like for what reason. I think that's actually something that I kind of want to ponder upon more. Uh, and This is one of those poems that makes me think a lot philosophically on things. I was just watching a Stoicism channel, and actually, that and the combination of that and some music I was listening to inspired some poetic philosophy from me. So it's nice to get another dose of philosophy in this poem, and this speaks to me a lot of, especially the end. Chains of being locked into boredom becomes natural when the excitement of going off grid to find peace a mere idea of madness. You know, there's it's like there's a lot that's in there, and the way I interpret it now, like I could interpret it differently, maybe a few minutes from now. But you feel like sometimes, you know, you're trying to be different just for the sake of being different, but other times you really feel that need to be outside the system, you know, because the system doesn't serve you your best interests. And I like what's something said in philosophy, and is that you can never true like you're all you can say, oh, I'm reacting to something outside of the system, but your reaction is rejecting the system. But that in and of itself is part of that, right? It's part of that system, so you're rejecting it. It's just kind of like this. There's this innateness that no matter how far removed you are from your reaction to something, you're still part of it, because the reaction is part of what you're reacting to, if that makes sense in words. I think that people know instinctively what I'm talking about in that regard. uh and like, I think a lot about boredom, and that because between COVID and now the fires and that, I think people have spent a record amount of time being stuck at home, and it's really starting to get to people. Like, I think I myself, that's part of the reason why my neck tensed up like so crazy yesterday. Just innate sort of tension, and so I think that part of the poem to me speaks to me a lot, because of how various factors are forcing people to stay home more, and that. And I like the in the beginning, the master controller who submits his ideas to a computer. Free thought is but an invisible dream, and that really, I think Rex would tune into that, especially because there's so much more ways that you can be controlled through data, and that sort of thing. And it really scares me, because a lot of the stuff that is doing that is like a black box. Like they say, like the algorithms that drive Facebook, they don't even know how they work. They create them, but they kind of move on their own accord. They function of their own accord, and they don't truly know how they work. And that scares the living bejesus out of me. So that's quite a lot of thought in this, and very thought provoking. Makes me think a lot of things.
Oh, I have to agree. Great comment there, Robbie. Yeah, this is definitely fits really well with the artwork, because so much of the artwork is, these people that are like shadow people, like walking or gathering in crowds. And it feels to me like this has really powerful lines, this strong imagery and metaphors. This is an excellent dark right on the mindset of the masses, how easily people can be controlled, and how too oftentimes those who want to seek peace, those who want to step away from the crowd, are seen as having a form of madness. Like individual thought becomes this reflection of the insanity that you carry. And I thought there was strong lines throughout, but I did especially like the last two stanzas. So very well done by Daniel Duhane. Oh, and I did check, and I actually just accidentally moved Eric's right over as a carryover. It was actually played on the last Echoes in the Dark. So I had to check on that, and it is all good. All right. Going to get the next poem. All right. Up next, we have The Working of Spiders by A Soviet Hair. And go ahead, please, Robbie, and give that a read.
Okay, The Working of Spiders. Oof, that's interesting. Good thing I'm not an arachnophobe. By morning, the city had spun itself tighter, a web of trembling names without bodies to belong to. It spits on your back while crushing cigarettes with its weightless legs. It lets you believe you're fine not knowing, then feeds you the same filth you send downtown, throws it back in handfuls. And you gobble it down without questions, like carefully canned adrenaline. A gas can full of drowned flies, and now you're looking sick in every surface reflection, thin as a rumor that's survived too long. A bottle of your old life, pissing itself down your prosthetic chair leg for the third year now. How public life became. Meeting someone feels like a conspiracy, urging you to fire at shadows like it's a game with a price on your head. Caution meant spying on yourself. The hands over your eyes feel colder than the dark you're hiding in. And the artery that keeps you alive learned how to blind you with its beating. Dressed for the occasion, he arrives as himself, a life at war reduced to a uniform. Bells ring somewhere in a distant relief. Another fucking spider's gone, mate. End poem. I wish I realized it was mate. I would have done it fully in the accent. Another fucking spider's gone, mate.
Well, I think that would have been a bit awkward, but yeah.
Yeah. As I
Oh my
massacre an
God.
accent.
Great read there, Robbie. Yeah, this right has me thinking that if he hasn't already, I'd really like to see Casey write for my contest for After Midnight, Vipers and Rats. This is a really powerful and captivating write. The reference to spiders makes me think of the saying, oh, what deceitful, what webs we weave when at first we do deceive. And I feel like this does speak on the deception, but also on greed. This has very raw, gritty imagery, hard hitting lines throughout. And I did love that ending. And yeah, I could totally see an Australian accent working with that end line, which is part of what throws me off. But I could also see it being some sort of like, I don't know, British accent or something. I like the imagery and metaphors throughout this. I like how it speaks on the deception that keeps people crippled and within the darkness. It will not allow them to see any sort of light. And I think there's really strong lines throughout, but I especially like how public life became. Meeting someone feels like a conspiracy, urging you to fire at shadows like it's a game with a price on your head. Caution meant spying on yourself. The hands over your eyes feel colder than the dark you're hiding in. And the artery that keeps you alive learned how to blind you with its beating. Wonderful lines and very well done by a Soviet Hair. And he says in his AN, Cass will do. So I guess that's after I say his all poetry name once, we can refer to him as Cass. At least I hope that's what that means. All right. So, and Robbie, you did a great read of that. Your thoughts?
Well, I love doing accents, so any excuse to do an accent, I'll take it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, this I don't know what it was about this, but it made me think of the movie Dark City, even though there's not that much relation to it. Because in Dark City, there's aliens and they want to find the essence of the human soul, and they have like this trippy experiment. It's like it's the movie The Matrix and Dark City have a fascinating crossover. With like they even use the same sets. But yeah, they're trying to find the essence of the human soul, and like they reconfigured this city, and it's not the Earth, it's in outer space, and they keep reconfiguring it, and it's always nighttime, and people don't realize that they never remember that it's all nighttime, and so they'll reconfigure like physically the city, and they'll also reset people's memories. So like someone could be your wife one moment, and then the next day they're your boss, and they want to like see how people, they want to see the essence of the human soul through that, like how people change in the changes of their relations and that, right? So yeah, I don't know, I think maybe because with this, maybe it reminded me of that because it's really reflective on how you interact with the system, and to a degree with other people, and the ending is so punchy and poignant. I'm thinking about the symbolism. Another spider. It's like I think about how you step on spiders, and then there's the bells and the, in distant relief. It kind of makes me think of like how almost like it's an analogy to someone else. It's like someone actually being stomped out, like they're like not their literal life, but their metaphorically their life. It's a kind of a unique metaphor there, and it's interesting when he says caution meant spying on yourself. The hands over your eyes feel colder than the dark you're hiding in. And it's kind of like when it feels to me like he's talking about self-monitoring because the system is so tight. That part kind of reminds me of the game BioShock, especially the first one, where it's like a dog eat dog society. It's like it's a complete meritocracy where only the fit survive. And I remember so well how there's a description that it was talking about how everyone was like hunched over because they were so hyper vigilant. They're like just always striving to be the best one, because if they weren't, then they would just be on the bottom of the pile. Basically, you're at the very top or you're toast. So it kind of reminded me of that. And yeah, and then it says meeting someone feels like a conspiracy, urging you to fire at shadows. So this whole thing feels very much like self-monitoring, and very much yeah, again, the ultimate meritocracy sort of an idea where you're constantly having to monitor yourself and also monitor how you are compared and comparing to other people. And that is freaking exhausting. That's just like, I can't even imagine living a life like that where you're just constantly self-monitoring like that.
Oh, that is so true. So true. Great observations there, Robbie. I really like what you had to say about the idea of, like the crushing of the spider being like a metaphor for destruction. And I tell you, the other spiders, I don't usually mind them. As my thing with spiders is like, and I'm saying this literally because we've been having in our apartment quite a bit more than usual, is if they're off in a little corner, I'm absolutely fine because I know they're taking care of other insects. But the other day I lifted up my toothpaste tube and a spider came running out from under it.
Oh no, that's the worst.
Oh,
I've
I
had that too.
screamed. And there's the
Yeah.
big ones too, not like tarantula big, because this isn't Australia, obviously. But they're still those kind of like big as your thumbnail big. And so, yeah.
That reminds me, I don't know if it works for spiders. I know it works for ants. I've tried this and it actually works, but I have street chalk in my place, and someone told me how you ground up street chalk and you put it like at your entrance and like little crevices where little critters creep in. And at least for ants it works because like their feet are sticky, and they so the chalk sticks to their little feet and they don't like it,
Huh.
and so they don't cross your barrier. And it actually does it. I would say it actually does work because I did see less critters getting into my place. So
That's interesting. That's
yeah.
interesting. That is, I mean, it's not something I could use because I'm pretty sure that my apartment building manager would be like, "Why are you drawing chalk outlines outside of your apartment?" But you know,
She's doing a sacrifice. She's doing a
yes, exactly.
ceremony. How do I do that? Pam was weird.
Right?
You'd be like,
Exactly.
it's just a line. It's not a pentagram. Come
Yeah.
on. It's just to keep
Don't
the ants
cross the line of salt.
out. Don't cross the line of salt. Yeah. If it was a line of salt, then I really would be worried. I'd be saying,
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, great comments there, Robbie. All right. So up next we have Bitter Fruit by Puddles 33. And it goes like this. I do not know the tick of which you talk, nor the scale on which you weigh the motives of your brother. It seems the judgments you make reflect the thin veneer that molds your heart, and not the muscled pulse that fuels a life different from your own. The seed's been sown that grows the roots of hatred. Distrust the bitter fruit you've swallowed whole. How can the future find its way beyond the bleeding and decay if soured minds refuse to see the truth of one humanity? End poem.
oh wow,
And
this
you can just go into
yeah.
commenting after I'm done reading a poem since it's just the two of us.
Yeah. I was about to comment. I just sometimes it takes me a couple extra seconds to get the mute button. Just with the setup I have. The picture here reminds me of some people don't like this trend. I feel like it's interesting, but it can be overdone, especially the motives behind it can be bad sometimes. But like when they have like one atheist versus 20 religious people, or vice versa, like they've really done that a lot. Uh, yeah, actually, the more I think about it, I kind of don't like that setup because it feels very adversarial. But that painting reminds me of that. Like for the people that don't see it right now, you have like one solitary figure, and he's surrounded by this like ring of a mass of people. Uh, and anyways, I like this. I do not know the tick of which you talk. Now that has a really interesting double meaning for me because there's the tick tock of a watch, but again, for people that don't see it, tick is TIC. So I think that's like a tick, like a facial tick, uh, of which you talk, but it's TALK. So it's not. So you can hear TikTok like a clock, but it's actually the other tick and talk. So that's really interesting to me. Uh, and then it talks about the scale on which you weight the motives of your brother, and I'm guessing it's supposed to say way, but uh, yeah, you have like two kinds of measurement going there, and this again has a feeling of measuring yourself against other people. Uh, and but here it's really critiquing judgment and evaluation, and that's the thing. There's a difference between evaluation and judgment. So when you say judgments, to me, that's there's more of a moral, yeah, a moral measurement there. um it says, I reflect the thin veneer that molds your heart and not the muscle pulse. So it makes it sound like the judgments are very thin. It's not. It's based on kind of your own ego and perhaps self-aggrandizement in that, and not the muscle pulse that fuels a life different from your own. So it's like there's this lack of recognition that other people have lives that are different than your own, that have different forces driving them, and that and I find that's again something that's hard to balance out in life, because you have people that say, "Oh, if they only tried harder, they'd be at a better place in their life." And then you have the other extreme where you have people saying, well, they can end up making excuses for people, and I find that very frustrating. I'm in most ways in life, I'm more moderate, and I think that kind of polarization just doesn't work in life in most circumstances. It's just life does not work that way. Life tends not to be either or. So makes me think of that. um and that when it goes on to the seeds of hatred, the seeds being sown that grows the roots of hatred, distrust the bitter fruit you've swallowed whole. So like there's this, it makes it feel almost innate, like it's a part of society that or part of yourself more actually, perhaps, that there's roots of hatred that are growing. And that's the thing in life. It really can be hard to, especially now. I think this kind of a stanza is very relevant, because they talk about how so many, not just the US but all over the world, there are more and more sort of like dictatorial governments coming out, and that, or democracies are starting to places that are democracies are like eroding more. And there's this very adversarial feeling, and everybody's, so it's either like, if you disagree with somebody, it's through, you believe that violence is justified. So that stanza reminds me of that. um but then and it's looking to the future. How can the future find its way beyond the bleeding and decay? And again, that talks about how, the violence of society, and the moral and structural decay too. If soured minds refuse to see the truth of one humanity. And it's like this refusal to see that humanity can be better. And that's why I get disturbed now, actually, when people are so viscerally rejecting things like, it sounds kind of silly maybe when I say it, but things like Star Trek, especially the more ideal Star Trek, like the old one, the oldest one, and Star Trek: The Next Generation. Like, it's like they're allergic to idealism. And the thing is, it's not like it's saying this is what the future of humanity is. It's not being naive that way. It's presenting an ideal to strive towards, but people don't seem to want to do that anymore, and that really disturbs me. It speaks to me of a cynicism that just eats at the human soul. And yeah, again, this poem really speaks to me of the present day, because people can't seem to see beyond. Sometimes it's a, they don't want to, but there's people like me that want to see a better future, but they're having more and more of a difficulty in seeing it. And that's the thing, that the decay is also like structural, like I think about in my city, like the buses don't run on time. And now when I send packages to the US, I have to claim it first at the or yeah, through a website at home. And now we have like the forest fires, and they have to radically readjust how they respond to them. Like, there's just so many structural things that are making everyday life harder and harder, and it's just like overbearing to the soul. So sorry, my comment was really long that time, but this poem really made me think.
It's always a great thing when a poem gives you food for thought. So great comment there, Robbie. Yeah, I was particularly intrigued by that beginning line. I do not know the tick of which you talk. It feels like the idea of a society pointing out what they consider flaws, and a person saying, I don't see the flaws that you do. At least that's what I get from it. Really amazing imagery and metaphors throughout. This is a dark rite that speaks to me on a society torn apart by greed, hatred, and all the bitter fruit that they chew upon and swallow. Like, if you're fed bitter fruit, you need to spit it out. But instead, it becomes this idea of this is what we think is nourishment for the body, mind, and soul. And there were great lines throughout, but I have to say, it's especially those last two stanzas that really hit hard and really speak to me. So excellent write by Puddles 33, and very well done. And let's see what we have next. All right. Do we have people in the chat to wave at, or are you just waving in case somebody's looking, like,
Yeah,
people who...
well, the thing is, I can't. I'm just kind of doing that. Just like I don't know. Like I thought, like I saw Maestro earlier, and that's the thing when
Oh, yes. Well, yeah,
yeah.
and you
So
never
sometimes,
know.
yeah,
Sometimes you get people that like hide in the background, and
alert.
I
Yeah,
totally
yeah,
get that.
yeah. So
Um,
I'm just waving to anyone that happens to be like kind of lurking and
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. I get that. All
Oh,
right,
there
up
you go.
next.
Macris is there on YouTube. Hello, Macris.
Oh, nice. Hey, Macris, good to know you're listening in. Very cool. And up next, we have An Empty Belly by Gray0328. And go ahead, please, Robbie, and give that a read.
All right. Empty bell. Okay, let me just get to. Sorry. Oh my God. I don't know what. There we go. I tried to right click the thing. It just went crazy for a second.
I heard that. That is a very odd sound. I could
Yeah.
hear that clicking and ticking.
Oh, that was my controller.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have an Xbox controller for a mouse. It no carpal tunnel here. Anyways, so An Empty Belly by Gray 0328. Here, bring my mic up a little closer. It was a little far. My stomach speaks in whale songs, low and rumbling, a submarine siren. The table is set with the vast nothingness. A horizon of hunger spreads before me. It grumbles louder than my resolve, demanding attention, begging me to listen. Each growl a percussion in the silence, a reminder of my hollowed out center. There is no dignity in want, just the raw ache of my body. I clutch my middle like holding a secret, but these noises are no kind of whisper. It is a performance I didn't agree to, a feral soundtrack to my own yearning. Nothing soothes this canyon carved within, so I sit, feast starved in my own skin. The universe feels smaller when you're empty, each minute a gnaw against my patience. Borbigimus, they call it, like a spell, as if naming it could fill the void. End poem.
Great read there, Robbie. And Borborygmus is plural for borygami, which is a rumbling sound made by the movement of gas in the intestine. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, I
okay.
got to start using that word. From now on, I am no longer telling people I have gas. I am telling them I have borborygami.
Yeah, you're gonna make it sound. You make it sound more sophisticated, right?
Exactly.
So that's actually a thing sometimes, like where like they had a video where scientists were using like these fancy words like sodium, or like was that sodium iodine, and it was like, oh, what's that? That's salt, and like people can really fool you with these fancy schmancy words, but you're like talking about a fart or
Yep.
or something.
Yep, exactly. But what I like about his use of that word is he doesn't put it in to make himself look like, oh, look at me, I'm a fancy poet. He does it because then he can follow it with the line. They call it like a spell, as if naming it could fill the void. And that to me is such a powerful ending. This has a great consistency of tone, amazing imagery and metaphors. I really like that beginning line. My stomach speaks in whale songs, low and rumbling, a submarine siren. But there's great lines throughout, and I like how this speaks on physical hunger and how much it affects not only the body, but it also really destroys the spirit and destroys the mind. Like, there is a lot of needs that people have, like, to me, needs both physical, emotional, and spiritual, all of those should be met in one way or another. But what should be covered first, and I think there's been people throughout history, like, in my mind, Mother Teresa comes to my mind, in the idea that in order to really care about people, you, you have to be able to help them meet their physical needs. um and otherwise, I mean, if a person doesn't have a warm place to stay, if they're hungry, if they're thirsty, if they're physically suffering, there is nothing they will find happiness in. At least I took this very, very literally to be about hunger, though I do think you can also take it metaphorically with the idea of an emotional hunger. But to me, because of the mention of the stomach speaks in whales songs, the grumbling of the stomach, this is really about that physical hunger. This is in the voice of a person, and sadly, while this, I hope anyways, isn't Gray's reality, and isn't many of our realities. Many of us are very fortunate and blessed to have enough food. It is the sad reality of far too many people in this world that going hungry. So, absolutely an amazing dark write on just a raw, ugly truth, and very well done.
Well, this poem really hit for me uh, because like with how I haven't been able to go to the grocery store, I was really running low on groceries, and I was starting to get hangry, and I was like really having to like look to the back of the fridge. I had a couple things like there was a couple things that I forgot that I had, so I'm glad that they were there. Like my roasted red pepper soup, and some like cheese
Oh,
bagels.
yum.
Yes, yes, but I was like really having to get to it was getting scary a little bit, like, and that's the thing is like the outside just hasn't been getting much better, and so that's why I was so thankful that someone had helped out and sent me some DoorDash of groceries, some essentials, and that's going to tie me over till Monday when I go to work, and or maybe even till Thursday. And but yeah, I was starting to feel some distress there because I was really getting low, and I kept looking at the smoke index, and it just wasn't getting better, and so I was starting to feel some of that reality. Like my stomach wasn't grumbling or anything, but I was starting to get that hangry sort of a feeling. So this poem reminds me of that very direct experience, and that's the thing. People with a high metabolism like myself, I think get particularly stressed out when we get hungry because we especially get that hangry sort of feeling. Our bodies are always demanding food, eh? And I mean, it helps for keeping the weight off and that, but then it makes eating more arduous of a thing to keep up with, and it makes you more like you have to buy more and eat more to keep up, and it makes it even more stressful, I think, when you get hungry, because then it's like a really sudden feeling, and you're just going like, "Ugh," you know. But yeah, it's a sad thing when it's like you say, when you're hungry and your essential needs aren't met, like with food, but also with clothing and shelter. Yeah, like it gets too much in the way of anything else. You just can't feel joy in anything else. And I know that, like I've mentioned that before, but there's been studies done where they say like your happiness increases when more and more of your needs are met. But once your needs are met, all your basics, basically no amount of money is going to make you happy. No more amount of money is going to make you happier. Like they're really, I think, trying to emphasize like kind of the fallacy of like, well, if I'm a millionaire, I'm going to be happy. And I don't know how much I think a certain amount of richness, like 100,000, and that can help make you happier in that. But after a certain point, I think, yeah, it really doesn't. After a certain amount of money, you really won't be any more happier, because like how much more further can you go, right? And it's kind of like when a gambler is addicted, and they just are addicted to the rush of money, and like no amount of money that they win is enough, literally, because they're after the rush. And that's what money starts to become like, when after a certain amount, right? So yeah, it really reminds me of that very specific curve of that they found when you have the needs met, and then but then after that, how the curve of satisfaction falls off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great comment, Robbie. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've considered myself very fortunate in my life in that my physical needs have always been met. So I've been very fortunate that way. But yeah, great comment there, Robbie. And Micra says in LNP, she's like, because when we were talking earlier about gas and botulism or whatever it's called, she's like, get the Beano. Oh, that cracks me up. But let's see what we have next. All right. My voice is getting scratchy. Oh my goodness. All right. Up next, we have The Quiet Assembly by Christy Five. And it goes like this. The shadows gather tall and thin where heavy, crowded nights begin. A sea of coat and featureless face, lost in a cold, indifferent space. We stand in rings, yet stand alone, like statues carved from soot and stone. A circle formed of hollow eyes beneath the weight of iron skies. No words are traded, no hands are caught. We are the shape of leaked out thought. The city hums a low refrain of quiet grief and numbing pain. We mimic life, we play the part with static in the heart. A shoulder brushes by a sleeve, too brief to mourn, too dark to leave. The boundary blurs between the dead and those who walk where spirits tread. So turn the wheel and close the line in the distorted, bleak design. We fade to gray, we bleed to spark, just lonely echoes in the dark. End poem.
Sorry about that. Yeah, they're kind of neat that they had the echoes in the dark at the end. It's nice when they have a little homage in that, and when it's at the end and it's like a single line, that it makes it where it's not too heavy-handed, because sometimes it can be a little too on the nose, and you're like, okay, yes, I get it. But no, that was a nice little soft touch for an homage to the title of the show. Uh, the shadows gather tall and thin where heavy crowded nights begin. The shadows gather tall and thin reminds me a little bit. There's a lot of times I don't know why it I guess because it's so forefront in my mind. The Preta realms in Buddhism always really struck me, and this is like a hunger thing, because it was like this kind of karma thing where these spirits were of people were punished by having like these very thin needle like mouths, and like so no matter how much they tried to eat, they wouldn't be satiated because the thin mouths wouldn't allow them to eat enough. So that shadows gather tall and thin kind of reminds me of that. uh this has a very eerie sort of lack of identity with it. A sea of coat and featureless face, lost in a cold, indifferent space. And again, that kind of reminds me a little bit actually of Slender Man, because of his image, the creepy pasta that they made a while back, where like he's tall and he's got a nice suit, and but he's got like a featureless face. Um, and yeah, so much of this imagery is like isolating, standing in rings yet stand alone. Uh, we do that more and more these days. I think a tragic after effect of COVID, oh my God, has been like people were like, oh, we hate being separated, and or we hate being isolated and that. But now, oh, like when I go to work, I get stressed out and almost pissed off sometimes. Like everybody's got their face buried in their phone, and I remember it was so different before COVID. Like where I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but like the TV was on, and we would be watching TV shows like Frasier or the news or something, and everybody would be talking to each other. And now the TV's off. I don't know why. Maybe they cheaped out on the TV, and everybody's got their face buried in their phone, and there's less staff at the same time too. So there's less people. So you'll have like two or three people in the staff room, and they all got their faces buried in their phone. And it just freaks me out. uh, and yeah, you continue along with isolating imagery here. A circle formed of hollow eyes beneath the weight of iron skies, and that's kind of like in a couple of the other poems where you feel this oppressive weight when you read the words. Like it makes me think of people that feel like there's the weight of the world on them, the weight of iron skies. It's like when you have iron skies, like the sky itself, of their life, kind of metaphorically, is their weight. And I kind of see that physically now with oh my God, when I saw that sky that I had sent you the 2 or 3 days ago, that's what it felt like then, the iron skies, because you looked up at the sky and it was such a weird color and these weird clouds, and it felt like the sky itself was wrong. So I saw a physical manifestation of what that would feel like metaphorically, right? And we mimic life, we play the part, with static in the heart, and it's just like this feeling that you're playing a role, and it doesn't really feel like the authentic you. You're not really being alive, and that's such a terrible thing to go through when you're not really living, where you're just going through the motions, and you're not really striving to be your most authentic self. That's really a dead existence, when you're not aspiring to either you're not aspiring to, or you're stuck for some reason outside of your control to be in this really mundane life where things are just static, and you're not being your most authentic self.
Great comment, Robbie. Yeah, I thought this was a wonderful poem by Christy Five. It had just this beautiful rhyme and flow, strong imagery. It definitely connects really well with the artwork. I like how it speaks on the idea of feeling lost and lonely within the shuffle of the crowd, and the idea of how that shuffle kind of is nothing more than a mimicry of life. Like it's not living life truly to the fullest. It's just going with the flow of the masses. And I thought there were great lines throughout, but I especially like we stand in rings yet stand alone, like statues carved from soot and stone, a circle formed of hollow eyes beneath the weight of iron skies. No words are traded, no hands are caught. We are the shape of leaked out thought. Wonderful lines and very well done by Christy Five. All right. And go there. And up next, we have Ghost People by Guilty. And go ahead, please, Robbie, give that a read.
All right, we have more ghosts. Ghost people. Okay, here we go. Haunted wraiths under gray slates. Rain punctuates nature's disdain for parasitic souls with black souls clogging the universe's tapestry. Sensitive matters, these negative poles, with a monsoon malaise magnified by consuming more than their mass and living in a denial state. And poem. And soundtrack. All blues, Miles Davis. Giant Steps, John Coltrane. Ooh, that really caught my attention. I adore Miles Davis. And John
Oh,
Coltrane's really
yeah.
good too.
Yes, yes. Guilty always listens to music when
Mhm.
he's writing.
I often
Um,
do that myself.
do you? Yeah, I
Yep.
can't. I can't. I mean, I can
Yeah, I
listen
totally
to music
understand.
that doesn't have words, yeah, but
Yeah, yeah. Same here.
most of the time I have to be hyper focused on my writing, my poetry, without outside distractions. But yeah, I've heard quite a few people, it's something they really enjoy. This is a wonderful dark brevity that has this beautiful haunting imagery, but also feels hard hitting at the same time. I like the use of the word wraiths because it connects really well with the artwork, strong imagery and metaphors. I also really like the line sensitive matters, these negative poles, and then the end line really hits hard. And living by consuming more than their mass and living in a denial state. I like that he put it as instead of a state of denial, he put a denial state. I thought that worked really well. It kind of, to me, is a bit of wordplay on the idea of what government has become in so many places. Um, and to me, this is a a right that speaks strongly in a society torn apart by those who live in a constant state of greed and denial at how their actions affect other people. So excellent right and very well done by Guilty.
Yes, yes. Before I do my comment, Yumpy was just asking if you need more reads.
Um, if he wants to share something, I mean, I can't guarantee we'll get to it
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to do contest entries first, but
Okay.
you know, he's welcome to share something. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I I'm definitely going to reread this and listen to the soundtrack because that's my jam. uh, this this so perfectly captured, like it's like the feeling you were talking about of, that kind of excess. And oh my god, the excess now is just so insane. Uh, the Musk has become like the first trillionaire, and it's like I get so upset when I hear like, how much money does one person need, right? And it's like, you can say, oh well, I should be allowed to be free to make as much money as I want. And that's kind of like this idea of individualism in that. And I agree to that to a great degree. I don't like I don't like the idea of saying you can only have this and you can only have that and everything. But when it gets to a certain point where the excess is so much, you really start to wonder, right? Like, how much money can one person spend? How much money can one person accumulate to where to me it's like a house where you have a gazillion just things in it, like, you know like, say you had a really big house and you had like 5,000 books in it, and 6 TVs, and like, are you going to use all of that? How much more are you going to buy, right? And it's just disgusting to me. I get so upset thinking about it. And this parasitic souls indeed. And there's a disconnect they have with the world. Like, again, with Musk, like you said, I'll never forget, he was wearing an ascot, and during the interview he said, well, the world needs more people. Okay, buddy. Yeah, you keep thinking that. And the monsoon malaise magnified. It's really this feeling of how it just gets amplified. It's like this loop, because there's people aren't willing to put the policies in place to put caps on this kind of thing, and to put not just on the money but the power itself. Like, people shouldn't be should be only welding so much power individually as well. And again, it's not this, when you say that, you sound like you could be like perhaps anti-capitalist or anti-individualist, but it's not that at all to me. It's like, it's just like this, I'm kind of a capitalism light sort of a person, like something between capitalism and like a moderate socialism, where like, people are free to try to be the best person they can be in that, but not to a point where they're siphoning off from everybody else, or they're doing it through practices. They're not reaching higher through practices that very directly impact other people, that where essential resources and monies are drained from them just so that they can have even more. To me, that's the cutoff point where where your accumulation of more is coming through the mechanism of taking away from people that don't even have enough. To me, that's like an abomination of kind of like social order, or I don't know how you want to say it, but yeah, like it's kind of like it goes against the human soul to me to get even more excess when other people don't even have enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great observations there, Robbie. All right. And up next, we have The Inner Circle by Julie Buck. And it goes like this. I've been on the outside all my life. Now I'm encircled by judging humans. I'm finally inside only because I'm an outsider, not a joiner, a good leader in my past. These days, I just hate people. I say what I think, I'm berated. I do what I want, I'm negated. I daily bleed and I'm desecrated. I have tears that you say I created. I write what I do and that pisses off all of you. I'm in a black circle of people. A huge orange brick wall keeps me caged. The circle is my death trap. Stone me now, I'm ready to die. Sorry for not feeling enraged. I I feel pretty fucking swell. Whilst y'all pulverize me with rocks and bricks. Kiss my free ass and dive into hell. End poem.
Tell us what you really think, Julie Buck. I like this poem though because it really gets that edge well, where it's really honest and it doesn't pull any punches, but at the same time, it's not pretentious in it, and it's not saying. So, like to me, this is more along the lines of there really are it kind of saying like there really are assholes out there and more of them, and that's really pissing me off, and that's more of an honest statement, and I appreciate that, and that's something I can jive with, as opposed to the one thing I cannot stand is when someone's basically what I call an honest asshole, and to me that's like a person that is like they say they're basically saying, yeah, I'm an asshole, I'm fine with that, and you all have to live with it, and an asshole in a way of not not because not so much like just being honest about what is honestly pissing them off, but just that they're like they're just themselves to a fault, and no matter how much it hurts people or how much it just can rub people the wrong way, and that like just yeah like in a way that doesn't really serve any purpose, like of just like where the honesty brings out something that perhaps a positive change down the road or something, where it's just like, yeah, I'm an asshole, I know, too bad, live with it. I don't like that at all. That's just not my thing at all, and this is not that at all to me, and I appreciate the poem for that. It's just a statement of a very honest statement of being frustrated with life, frustrated with people that are more and more now divisive and just acting like assholes, and that I've never said the word asshole so much in one night. I need a counter, but yeah. So I appreciate the poem for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great comment there, Robbie. Yeah, not every truth needs to be spoken is actually a lesson I had to remind my second born over and over again, because he just had one of those personalities. And he eventually outgrew it to a certain point, like not as bad as when he was a child, but it was like, okay, you know what? The fat lady does not need to be told she's fat. The bald guy does not need to be told he's bald. Not every truth needs to be spoken. Is it helpful in any way to speak this truth? And is it being said in a kind way? Um, but yeah, this is just true Julie style. I like her first person narrative. I love the wordplay on I'm finally out I'm finally inside because I'm an outsider. Like that idea of like, gee, I wish I could be part of the inner circle. And then all of a sudden being like, oh, I am part of the inner circle, but I'm here alone. I like that turn of phrase. I thought this was hard hitting and edgy. To me, it definitely draws beautifully from the artwork, and yet could stand definitely on its own. And it is an excellent write in the voice of one refusing to conform to a society that will too quickly pass judgment on people that they feel don't belong in their clique. So excellent write and very well done by Julie Buck. All right. And up next, we have What is Left by Macris. And go ahead, please, Robbie, and give that a read.
Sorry about that. All right. What is left? It's the opposite of right. Ha. Anyways, horrible joke. What is left? Painted painted oils. It wasn't even like a giggle. Painted oils flicker under dim light. Shadows shift beneath the glow of night. Gray crowds remains restless, drift two ways, shifting back and forth, no wish to stay. Figures pacing in a frame too tight to leave. Shapes become scars no one would grieve. Their breath staining glass where echoes slide, whispering their sins no canvas can hide. Voices scratch at me, insects on my skin. Each thought a needle, every voice a pin. Choices left to rot where they lie asleep in strokes of paint, too heavy, dark, and deep. Between those crowded masses stands one form, does not waver or tremble in this storm. It neither begs nor turns to meet my eyes, but silently waiting, it knows the wise. Others stretching out, smoke along the glass, claws at the air, upset, can't seem to pass. This one stares back, so unmoved by any pain, while it carries something it can't name. Sorry, that I can't name. Back I come, drawn over against my will. The gallery grows cold and deathly still. Crowds may retreat, yet all remains the same. A silence shaped too well and owned by shame. Alone I watch them through tattered light, a room devoured whole into the night, while both groups of others fade unknown until the center shadow now stands alone. I've seen that stance, that distant shape behind, a moment carved in corridors of time. A shadow I still know I can't outlive, the sin I made and never could forgive. End poem. Ooh, that really drew me in towards the end.
Yeah, yeah. Were you purposely whispering for some of those lines?
Towards the end, I was getting a little bit more like kind of
Oh, I
whispery. Yeah.
couldn't tell if maybe you were having mic problems or if,
No.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
the ASMR influence. What can I say?
Okay. But great read there, Robbie.
Yeah.
Um, oh man, this is so, it's the imagery and metaphors are haunting, beautiful, and brilliant. As always, Macris has just this great rhyme and flow. Again, this is another piece that connects really well with the artwork. And I don't know, like love the consistent use of lowercase i's. It's not my thing. Like I very rarely. I think the only time I've ever used lowercase i's is one time when I entered an e-coms contest. But I like when it's done consistently, or what seems to be either it has to be consistent or it has to be a pattern that feels like it represents something that the poet is saying. But this has great lines throughout. It's an excellent dark right. Part of what it spoke to me on is the part of the self that can't and won't forget the pain of the past. You know, like I always think of the saying, forgive but don't forget. And I've known people who disagree with that. Like they think that forgiving means forgetting, but I don't agree with that. Like, I don't think you have to, spend the rest of your life wishing horrible things on a person, but I also think you need to be realistic that this is not somebody for your physical or emotional health that you can be near. But it also, because of the end line, the sin I made and never could forgive, there's also this idea of self blame. So it feels like the idea of forgiveness, also of self. Um, Really strong visceral lines. Also I really like where it says, between those crowded masses stands one form, does not waver or tremble in this storm. It neither begs nor turns to meet my eyes, but silently waiting, it knows the whys. The whys are the most difficult question, especially when you're looking at bad things that have happened and the moral character of people, like to ask the why did this happen? Why did this pain happen? Is some of the most heart-wrenching and difficult questions to answer. But it also feels like, because the shadows are mentioned, it feels kind of to me like also the idea of, shadow healing, the process of looking at the shadows within yourself to be able to heal, to be able to see how that part of yourself stands out. And this has great lines all the way through. But I did especially like the fourth, fifth, and sixth stanzas. I mean, wow, those really hit hard and are very well done.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm shocked that I didn't notice those small eyes, because usually I'm the one who's always almost incessantly pointing them out, almost probably to the point of people's irritation, I think sometimes. I'll be like, "Whoa, did you see those small eyes? Did you see those small eyes?" And everybody's saying, yes, Rob, we saw it. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I just really latch on to that when it's used. I like the physical structure of, like, how you have like this kind of trail off in the stanzas, like you how they kind of like almost like a ladder, or really like where you see, like, if you're physically looking at the poem, where like the stanzas kind of go out a little more and a little more. um and this For some reason I got the feeling of cold here, overall in the poem. It does say at one point, the gallery grows cold. I just get this like feeling of further and further of isolation, and and it's kind of like this numbness. It's funny because I was watching a neat video about where they had like these interviews with all these Batman villains, and one of them was Mr. Freeze, and like he said, like physically he doesn't feel a lack of temperature, just or lack of warmth. He just feels nothing, like no warmth, no cold. It's just nothingness, and he's like, and you could tell it's like existentially dreadful, and he's trying to describe
Oh
what it
yeah, I
feels
remember
like.
Mr. Freeze, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this was like really it's cool because in this video is like these interviews. It was high quality writing, and this is like yeah, like another totally different voice actor, and like it's actually like really deep. Like the Joker is saying how he's bored because he can predict everybody, and he's just like nothing's a surprise to him anymore. But anyways, uh, this the coldness of this just keeps tunneling in. It's like as the poem goes, everything compounds the isolation and the coldness and then kind of like this feeling of kind of like what I was talking about before in one of my poems about needling, where just the little things that life get to you. Voices scratch at me, insects on my skin. Each well, there you go. I wasn't even thinking of that. Each thought a needle, every voice a pin, and that's one of the crappiest things in life to me is where every little thing in life needles at you. Just it's like when I went to that post office, even though it wasn't the biggest deal, I flipped out. I like you wouldn't have even recognized me, Pam. I just completely flipped out because I had enough. Because I couldn't even send off a package to a friend without going through this some sort of pedantic, arduous process because of idiotic, insipid policy changes, and uh, and those things really get to you when you can't even do the simplest thing. Sometimes that's actually the biggest thing, because you want to be able to do that. You want to be able to do just the simplest thing without troubles, right? And there's a lot of that sort of needling feeling here in this poem, where just every little thing gets to you. Um, and yeah, just towards the end, even more isolation. Alone, I watched them through the tattered light, a room devoured whole into the night, while both groups of others fade fade unknown until the center shadow now stands alone. And like even your shadow, that's something when even the shadow stands alone. Um, and that's reminding me of something I saw in fiction recently about a shadow. And I'm trying to remember what it was, but yeah, it's the shadow is something that can be interesting to be played with. Like there were soldiers in Iraq that thought that certain scorpions were following them, but they weren't. They were following their shadow to cool off, and they were like freaking out, thinking like these scorpions or these nasty critters, whatever they were gonna like try and bite them or something. But no, they were just following their shadows so that they could cool off, but they didn't know that. And then when I heard about that, when I read it, that both freaked me out and fascinated me at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great comment there, Robbie. And excellent write by Macris. Thank you for sharing this with us. Very much appreciated. All right. So up next, we have Paper Cut by Cedar Chapman. And he was nice enough to supply us with a SoundCloud. So I will go ahead and go grab that. Oops. Here we go.
Paper Cut by Cedar Chapman. Am I just another gray man with wingtip shoes, dusted in the soot of a numbing routine that can never be washed away, no matter how hard I scrub? Each step I take joins the procession of other gray men, our footsteps clacking on the concrete in a mindless daze. Yet the sun still brushes the morning drizzle, glistening on the asphalt, as though it understood our need to lift the fog of this monotony. Its mercurial shimmer meanders along the pavement, drifting on the sidewalk, always just beyond the reach of our marching feet. It is as though it promises something greater, something waiting for us beyond the horizon. And just as our fingers are about to graze the rainbow in the mist, we lower our eyes to our tiny screens. Their omniscience has made everything easier. Instant songs, instant paintings, instant lovers. All the answers in the universe rest at our fingertips. Glass has become our second skin. Our fingers have forgotten how to caress another's face, so we long for something. Anything, a paper cut, to feel its sting, to know we bleed red and not Indian ink. The weight of nothingness is crushing us, drowning us in charcoal rain. Then, between the rhythms of morning bustle, the aroma of coffee slips between the cracks of my apathy. I walk past a cafe, but I stop and turn back, drawn by roasted beans and warm pastries. Through the window, a young woman in a sheer floral dress looks up. She smiles. I smile back. I step inside, my phone in my pocket.
Wow. Sorry, I was trying to remember if it was me to comment first or you, but
Oh, thank you, Cedar, for the SoundCloud. It is very much appreciated. Just a reminder, everyone, if you're unable to call in, the next best thing is to make a recording of your poem, because then we get to hear your poetry in your voice or how you would like it to be presented. And Robbie, your thoughts.
well, I said in the chat, this is superb. It tells so well of how things. That's the thing. Technology and that is a tool, but and that's, I don't have problems with the tool. I always say, I've had this discussion a lot. It's how we use it, and I feel like it says how things are too easy, you know, and that glass has become our second skin. I think of glass. I think when he's saying that is like the glass of our computer screens or our cell phone screens and that. And then it says how our fingers have forgotten to caress another's face. That kind of goes along with what I was saying with how, you know, the people in the staff room there, they're just not looking at each other and that. And that's the thing is that, again, it reminds me of how it was in that Star Trek Next Generation again, where there's nice balance of, they have this central computer and it has all this information, but they ask for what they need, but they still engage in their own thing, right? Like you see people playing instruments, their own instruments, and doing very much their own learning in that, and there's a nice balance. But I think that, and that's a very ideal balance that they show. I think that that's not the balance at all that we have. You have, you know, like you have things like people using AI for AI slop. Like there are people that do use AI in a good way, but there is a lot. I would say that a greater part of it is AI slop, as they call it, and also like just the disconnect, you know, like, you know, people forgetting how to stroke a face, you know, or where does it say that? But yeah, our fingers have forgotten how to caress another's face, and that's the thing. They talk about how, like, I saw two people that are right across from each other, and they were texting each other. And it's like, why are they doing that? How are they doing that? Why would you do that? And then what scared me is they're saying, like, the studies show that when people do that right from birth, that's how they learn to communicate. And that's the thing. It's one thing if you're like, say, you know, you're texting your friend in the same city, and they're like across town from you and that. So obviously you're going to do that. But if you're in the same room with somebody and you're texting them, that's a problem, you know? And that unfortunately is how people literally are learning. They're being wired to communicate that way because they have their phones right from, like, you know, very, very young age. And so that's how they're learning to communicate. And that's why they're in the same room as somebody, but they're texting them. And that scares the bejesus out of me. And so this really does the job of showing how there's the disconnect, and especially too, like how I like that it was that, but also how things are too easy, and you know, and we use information in this very utilitarian way, not a creative way. Like we just, not to further our own knowledge, but just like, not like we're forgetting how to do our own kind of independent research and like further plumbing the depths of a subject. Like we'll just, a lot of times people will get just a few facts and then that's it, you know. They don't have like the patience, I think, as much anymore to delve further.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That is sad but true. Yeah. I like the use of the phrase paper cut as the title, because, you know, like paper cuts and grass cuts, the absolute worst. I actually recently gave myself not a paper cut, but it is like a paper cut because I got it when I was opening a can of tuna to make a sandwich. And oh my gosh, it's like it looks like cuts like that, and paper cuts, grass cuts, they look insignificant, but they're constantly just, anytime you bump them slightly, they hurt, they're irritated. I also like the reference to gray men, like the idea of people who just feel like they're non-existent, they hide in the shadows. um I never read it, but it did make me think of, there's a movie, The Gray Man, which is based off of, I guess, a series of novels, and which I've never read and never seen the movie, but and from what I can gather, because I did a little quick research is that that's basically about the spy, about spies. And so, you know, you think of spies blending into the background. You think of feeling like you're in the crowd, but you're blending into the background. This has amazing imagery and metaphors. It definitely has an emotional impact. And I think many of us can find this relatable because sadly, we do live in a society where we are so focused on our screens that we are losing our ability to truly connect with one another. And I like that he writes in the voice of someone, whether it's his own experience or he's just creating this character who realizes that it's time to put the phone away and start actually reconnecting with people. So excellent write by Cedar Chapman and very well done. All right.
That actually reminds me very, very, very quickly of how I was having a conversation with somebody, and he said, "Oh, your phone went off. Your text went off." And I said, "Yeah, I know." And I just continued the conversation. I was like, I thought to myself, I knew who it was. There is a close friend, and they were saying good night. And you know, I didn't have to say good night, you know, the next moment. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to interrupt the conversation for a text at all. Never mind one that I
Right.
know what it is. I think that there's not as many people now that would do that or would be able to do that.
That is so true. That is so true. Yeah. And I feel that same way. I feel that the people you're talking to personally should always come first as much as possible. There are exceptions. Like, you know, if you're expecting something because there's a family emergency going on or Mistress Pam is texting you, then you should immediately drop what you're doing and respond to her. You know?
Is that a hint? I like that made me laugh. That made my night.
I figured it would.
Get back to
All
me
right.
now.
Yes. I must stop this conversation right now.
Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious. Let's see. Macris was just before Cedar, correct? Yes. And you read her. So now I have put up Flightless by Sababali, and it goes like this. The air is somber, pregnant with loss. One moment you're caught in the ever dwindling hours of another day, watching time trying to unrun itself. When loss brings your world to a screeching halt, you blink, tears cascading down your face like a stream whose only option is to run down the steep incline of a mountain's cheekbones. You, the mountain, stumbles, quaking within your colossus, struggling to find purchase for unsteady feet, much like the tremulous steps you took when first you learned how to walk. The loss of parents sink deep within the fissures of your spirit, a constant yet invisible presence when the landslide ceases to roar and silence is a shroud wrapped tight around your naked form. Its weight crushes you, stifling any sobs. That's when you learn a lesson you never wanted to birth into existence, that the baton they placed in your innocent cherubic hands, ones which once dove headfirst into every new discovery, now cradle your face, covering eyes whose wish is to remain blinded to this bleak reality, praying to coalescence into the painted facade of your bedroom wall, where nothing could ever carve another streak of loss across your scarred effete heart. Never again will you be the son or daughter of parents riding shotgun by your side, no longer safe within the comfort of their presence. This sobering thought flashes across bewildered eyes. You become flightless, no loving arms to break your fall, the irony of which threads itself into the depths of your tangled thoughts. You become the older generation, not by wish, but by destiny, unflinchingly untethered. Days fold into one another like waves on a barren ocean. Tendrils of your new self pierces the air of loss, finding purchase in your bones, steadying every step you take, your feet well grounded, ready to take your place at the helm of future generations. End poem.
Well, I like how there's a yeah, there's a bit more of a break or like a line, like space between the other stanzas and then the last stanza. That kind of indicates to me a more separate thought. Um, this very much has a feeling of inevitability, the inevitability of the process of not being with your parents anymore, and that's the thing is it's interesting. A poem like this can be interesting because it can be generate feelings so much different in other people because there are people that are close to their parents, and it is like an ache to be away from the nest finally, where there is a certain loss there. But there's other people like myself. I needed truly to get out of the nest because it wasn't a good nest, and I needed to learn my life lessons on my own. So like a poem like this, has generates a different feeling in me, and it's very much not an intrinsic poem in that way. It's like it's relational. It's dependent on what your experiences of leaving the nest. Um, that's a, although the when it says the loss of your parents sink deep within the fissure of your spirit, a constant yet invisible presence. When I think of that now, at first I thought the loss of the parents like when you're leaving the nest, but I'm thinking that it actually means like the loss of your parents, like your parents actually being deceased. And of course that's even harsher. It's one thing to leave the nest, but it's another for them to actually be deceased. And so yeah, that when I think about that and realize that that's actually more what it is, that puts even more of a bite to the poem. And that's the thing. It's this that when I see it, when I read it that way, that gives it even more of a feeling of perhaps not inevitability, but just like fate. There's nothing you could have done for your parents to pass when they passed, um, to make it a later time. And boy, I remember when my dad was passing, and it was like a slow, terrible process, and you get these conflicted. Every experience can be so different because with my dad, and when it's like that, you don't consciously want them to go, but at the same time, you want their suffering to end. But the only way their suffering can end is if they go, and so you're caught in this horrible catch 22 of your emotions, right? And so again, it's a very different experience when your parents are passing, like if it's sudden or if it's a gradual thing like that. And I remember you were saying a couple of nights ago where it's different when if it's sudden, there's a certain feeling to that, but if it's gradual, there's a certain feeling to that too, or like if you know that it's going to come, and both are terrible in their own ways.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, they both definitely have their struggles that they
Mhm.
create. So yeah, great comment there, Robbie. Yeah, I thought this was a beautiful and heartfelt write, with wonderful imagery and metaphors. I like how it speaks on the process of loss and grief, and how you can go through a various different amount of thoughts and emotions within the grieving process, and how no matter how old you are, it feels like you no longer have somebody to catch you. And I too really like the spacing that between the couplet and then the very last stanza. I thought that worked really well. And wonderful lines throughout, but I especially like the sobering thought flashes across bewildered eyes. You become flightless, no loving arms to break your fall, the irony of which threads itself into the depths of your tangled thoughts. Wonderful lines and very well done by Sababali. And getting back to where I need to be. And just to let you know, Robbie, since we only have 2 poems left, oh, wait, 3. We have 3 poems left. We are going to go ahead and get those done.
Okay.
So I don't have to carry any of them forward.
Yeah, you got a lot of carryovers already.
Yes, exactly. Especially with this particular show, it took a while. And all right. So up next, we have Crowd Walking by Ima Rima. And go ahead, please, Robbie, and give that a read.
Okay, I think I'm gonna have to refresh here. I don't
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah. Oh, I'm still seeing flightless. There we go. Now I got it. Okay, Crowd Walking by Ima Rima. And I just had to check. Okay, I am unmuted. In the city, I walk a lot. I must do so. And always I'm with huge crowds of walkers who've got to be walking at the same time. I truly don't like to be stuck in a huge crowd with a sardine, like in a huge crowd like a sardine pressed with others in a can. Yuck. Ever pushed and shoved twixt and tween. And so a thought did come to me, how walkers would give me more space, while still in a huge crowd I'd be, and walking at a normal pace. Best way to walk in crowds, I think. Be sure that as I walk, I stink. End poem. Well, I guess you could self-induce that if you want to. You can make yourself stink if you wanted to.
Oh my gosh, that ending cracks me up. And great read there, Robbie. Honest to goodness, I hate crowds. Like I really related to this as someone who really cannot stand crowds and is claustrophobic. But I have to say that I would hate stinking even more than crowds. Like I definitely would have to find another way to deal with them. But this just that ending cracks me up. I found this very relatable. It had clever lines throughout. I love the imagery of I truly don't like to be stuck in a huge crowd like a sardine, and the use of the phrase twixt and tween, like that she puts that kind of old English language amongst all the like daily imagery that she pulls out in the idea of crowd walking. So definitely a clever write by Ima Rima, and very well done.
Well, that made me think of agoraphobia because I remember our English teacher was just forlorn. He was shocked that we didn't know where the word agoraphobia came from. And we're like, sorry, dude, we just don't have as much English knowledge as you. But yeah, I think because too, like our the center in our university was called the Agora. I mean, and I think that's, we didn't know what that was referring to. And the thing is, the Agora was like the central plaza, in Greek civilization, I think, is like the meeting place. And so agoraphobia comes from the root of that, the agora, and like
right,
light space.
Right.
Yeah.
A fear of open places.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it kind of reminded me of that. And I cracked up on that too, that, the whole stink thing. It's like, and I think to myself, I'm like, no, that wouldn't be the that wouldn't be the tactic that I would use. I don't want to stink on purpose to drive people away. And that's the thing. Yeah, crowds for me is like it's kind of situational because like when I'm in a crowd of like say where it's like a nightclub and there's good music playing that and there's a good vibe going on, I kind of draw on that energy and with everybody just kind of like pumped up in that. Although even with that, after if I stay for too long, I start to get hyperstimulated. But when it's like a manic sort of a thing, like people are rushing, or like say especially like during COVID when you were in the you were in the rush and everybody wanted to in the crowd and everybody wanted to freaking kill each other.
Mhm.
Why aren't you wearing a mask? Why are you wearing a mask? That kind of a thing was just horrible to be in. So crowd walking to me feels like I'm coming across all that a lot with the poetry tonight, but a lot of very situational poems. But there are times when walking in the crowd isn't so bad for me, but there's other times where I'd like to be away from the crowd. And this reminds me of one thing that I came across that was kind of disturbing, where one guy was asking for change and he didn't realize, I don't think he realized, or he couldn't connect to how he looked aggressive or how he kind of looked like a little sketchy. And he's like, why is everybody ignoring me? I thought to myself, I wouldn't know what to say if he asked me that directly. I'd be scared to answer, but especially if I gave him
Right?
an honest answer. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great comment there, Robbie. All right. And up next, we have White Eye of the Dark Red Sorrows by Olka F. And he was nice enough to supply us with a recording. So I'll go ahead and give that a play.
Sleeker wiped its overwinded, half-broken eyelid, jerking with white blood. Not a surprise, not to them at least. Proclaimed echoes in the sub-cloned dark. Slowly chalky crowd plunged in the cockle of yesterday's stories, already drowned, ardor raving on its reddish shores. Hidden death worship, only refraining from showing off his foolish whispers. Branded skin, stigmatized by fishy madness, uglifying ownership, confronted uniquely under its inner circles. Disheartened, obliged to multiple dies, yet suddenly stalling for more and more and more and more and more of lesser circles.
Thank you very much for that recording, Olka. It is greatly appreciated. I loved the Celtic sound of the music. Although I will admit the first like few beats, my mind didn't immediately think Celtic. Instead, I started, singing, I got a lovely bunch of coconuts. They're all standing in a row. Sorry, that's just where my mind went. But oh my goodness, this is so strong and visceral. Um, Really captivating lines, amazing imagery and metaphors. This is an excellent dark rite that speaks to me in part on drowning in the shadows of a past and a society that creates circles of conformity because it expects you to fit in. And I thought there were great lines throughout, but I especially like hidden death wisher only refraining from showing off his foolish whispers, branded skin stigmatized by fishy madness, uglifying ownership confronted uniquely under its inner circles. Wonderful lines and very well done by Olka F. And Robbie, your thoughts?
As I had said in chat, I got a feeling of offbeats in this, which kind of makes sense because it had that Celtic sort of feel to it. So, and Celtic has that kind of offbeat sometimes. This reminded me of one of the poems that I had where it was, I think it was called Barnacles, and the song for it was kind of quirky, and the poem had like very, very quirky, unique imagery. This poem had that too. Uh, everything that it spoke upon in a kind of offbeat, different way. Sleeker wiped its over-winded, half-broken eyelid, jerking with white blood. The imagery here is so unique that I would have to go over it again to completely, get the grasp of what it's saying. But it had this sort of semi-chaotic feel to it, like kind of when life's like kind of throwing you around and you're getting lost and you're kind of just trying to find your bearings, and yeah, you don't quite know where you are, you just, and you keep trying to find your place, but it's like kind of like you don't have an anchor quite yet to ground you and to see where you're at. That's kind of the general feeling I got of this. And I just I would have to read again to get more to the specificities of the poem.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is a poem that I think does need to be read more than once. But I did like what you had to say about your observations on feeling as if you're floundering, like you're just trying to find some sort of stability in your life. So really, really great observations there. And up next, we have The Council of the Mirror by Visago. And go ahead, please, Robbie, and give that a read for us.
All right. Good. It refreshed. The Council Mirror of the Mirror by Visago. The mirror called a meeting, not of faces, but of truths. In its silver chamber, and sat the shadows I've worn, the versions of me I try to outgrow, outdrink, outrun. Socrates was there, asking why I lie to myself with such devotion. Plato traced shapes in the dark, searching for the fire behind my fears. Loki grinned because he always knew chaos was my native tongue. And Lucifer, he didn't speak. He didn't need to. His presence was the question. Then the mirror turned to me. Where do you come from? It asked. Not my body, not my name, but me. The silence cracked open, not with an answer, but with a feeling that I was born from the space between nothing and infinity, a spark torn loose from something older than gods with thrones or men with prayers. I stood there naked, not in skin, but in truth. Every version of me was both the wound and the weapon, the student and the flame. And the mirror whispered, you are not here to find yourself. You are here to choose which of you gets to walk out of this room. End poem. It says,
Great.
Oh,
go ahead.
Warning, this page may not only be read, it may read you back. Breathe now in and out. Don't rush it. because something did walk out. The question is, oh, was it you? And then it goes, like,
Yeah, that is, I have to say, that is one of the most clever ANs I have ever seen.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, this is a strong right. I like how it speaks on the idea of struggles with different parts of self. I could even say that this could speak on the idea of multiple personalities, but it does feel kind of more like the idea of trying to figure out who you are. I like the use of looking in the mirror um, as an idea of observing the truth of self. I also like that he brings in the different spiritual and mythological and historical figures like Socrates or the representation, and Plato representing wisdom, and Loki, the mischievous deity, and Lucifer, the fallen angel. Like each one of these is a representation of a different part of self. And I like how he brings in the silence and the way that silence can speak volumes. And that is a really strong ending. And the mirror whispered, "You are not here to find yourself. You are here to choose which of you gets to walk out of this room." That idea that, eventually you have to make up your mind. Who are you going to be? And what are you going to be? So excellent, right? And very well done by Vizago.
Yeah, the this was a pleasant poem for me to both, yeah, to hear, and to kind of digest. It reminded me of a lot of things because it tied into a lot of things I've seen recently or thought about recently. Because there's the Stoicism video I saw today, and that very much made me think about what it means to be your best self or reach your best nature. And then this reminds me of a few scenes I've seen in film where people are looking in mirrors. You have both Harry and Norman Osborn in the Spider-Man movies looking into the mirror and, seeing something that's very questioning to them, and it just causes a visceral reaction to them in them. And then in Babylon 5, when you see Garibaldi, who's being mind controlled, although he doesn't even know it, by the one of the Psychor guys there, Bester, and there's this freaky scene where, like, he realizes somewhere in the back of his mind that I think that he's being mind controlled, and he feels dead inside, and like there's a steam on the window after the shower, and he draws like a face with a flat mouth, like a just not a smile or a frown, but just in between. And when I saw that, it's like, ooh, this is freaking me out because it's like he's saying, I know I'm dead inside, but I can't do anything about it. And that just like freaked me the hell out. So the poem reminded me of those instances, various instances in the mirror. Homelander also too was looking in the mirror and he was like questioning himself through the mirror. There's actually a lot of very like narratively potent scenarios and scenes in movies and fiction where people are looking into the mirror, and when it's done right, it can be like gut wrenching almost. And when you have the whisper, oh my god, it's the end of the night. I can tell the mirror whispering at the end what it's whispering. It reminds me of that phrase, look not into the abyss, for it may stare back at you. Paraphrasing a little bit there, but it reminded me of that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Great comment, Robbie. And great show tonight. Thank you, Robbie, for joining me. Thank you to Macris, Yumpy, and Jojo for hanging on the board. Thank you to everybody who is listening now or will be listening later and provided rights for the show. We truly appreciate you all. I'm not sure if there's going to be a rhythm and rhyme on this Sunday night, but I'm sure somebody, Phil or Rex, will let y'all know. And Make sure to keep an eye out on the contests and topic boards put up by the Late Night Poets host and hostesses, because you're sure to find something to inspire. Have a good night, everyone, and have a good night, Robbie.
Good night, Pam.